rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh, I screwed up my my closed captioning up here. It thought I was gonna say home, and then I said host. Anyway, yeah. All right. Well, it's a Monday. And unfortunately, we are now down one more Republican senator. Now, I know some people, I'm just going to say this, some people didn't like him. I didn't agree with him on many occasions. But unfortunately, with his passing, McConnell being in the hospital, well, it just makes it even harder to pass the SAVE Act. So, not that I really expected the senators to be able to get it done anyway, because John Thune is refusing to do anything with it. But let's be honest. Even though Senator Graham may not have been beloved, there's at least one aspect of his tenure that makes everybody question. And I do mean everybody with an intelligent mind question a specific spot. A specific spot with regards to the Congress. So, yeah, there we go. Also, too, his replacement has already been named and nominated and appointed and all that stuff. I'll get to that. My Whiskey Warrior P1s over on Rumble are already way ahead of me on that kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, we will, yeah, we'll see about all that. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is, yes, the final... That's right. The debut of the Fernando Pledge. We have Fernando's twins, but now we have Fernando. And so this is the debut of the Fernando Pledge, number 25 in the list of all of the ones that we have. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Fernando as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Fernando, for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the Pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the Pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And then address that email to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 25 of these now. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done yours yet and want to get it done, please do so. If you use your phone to record the pledge, then use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option to send it to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation as quickly as possible. All right, tonight's headline sponsor, I'm wearing one of their performance shirts. This one is the America, We the People performance, men's performance golf type shirt. So go and check out them. Check out all of their styles at theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com. Oh, I got to find it. There it is. Theflagshirt.com is where you need to go. And you'll go and check out all of their patriotic styles. They've got men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, America 250. America 250, and all kinds of stuff. They also have accessories, all for the red, white, and blue. Head on over to theflagshirt.com. Veteran-owned, veteran-run, out of Florida, believe it or not, ironically. And I'm telling you, they ship really quick. I live on the opposite corner of the country from Florida. You can make your guess on that. And I've ordered stuff and gotten it within a week. So, and that's like within the 5 business days or 7 days, whatever it is. I've gotten it within a week. So go ahead and check out all of their patriotic styles at theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com. And if you order $75 or more of their product, they will provide you with free shipping. That is theflagshirt.com, where you can go and get yourself patriotized. All righty. Well, as you all know, because it's been plastered everywhere, Senator Lindsey Graham died suddenly at the age of 71. Now, the sad part about it was that the minute that he died, everybody, all of the conspiracy nuts like Candace Owens and the rest, well, I'm not saying that she said anything because she didn't. As far as I'm aware, I don't know, because I don't really listen to her. I'm not interested in listening to nuts. But all the conspiracy theorists came out of the woodwork, and they were all saying, oh, my gosh, Israel killed him. No. He died because he challenged Trump, and Trump had him killed. No. He died because he's a warmonger. No. Basically, what has been confirmed now is he had an aortic rupture. It was a medical condition that he had. And unfortunately, it happened right after he came back from visiting Ukraine. And anyway, he apparently got home, had the rupture, and they had to call 911 and all that stuff, and unfortunately, they couldn't get to him in time. He had a heart attack and died. Now, Lindsey Graham has been in Congress for many, many years. In fact, I'm being told by G, one of my whiskey warriors, that he's saying the latest conspiracy on X is that he was going to force the SAVE Act to the Senate floor. Yeah, okay. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, so Lindsey Graham made his bones, by the way, made himself known to everybody back under the President Clinton. This is how far back he goes. The President Clinton impeachment trial, or, Clinton having his intern service him under the desk. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, Monica Lewinsky under the desk. Mm-hmm. I did not have sex with that woman. Yeah, okay. Sorry, poor, very poor. I should cut it with the impressions. I really should. But anyway, Lindsey Graham, while he wasn't exactly what I would consider to be a regular staunch conservative, he was fairly reliable when the chips counted in certain ways. And so, yeah, he, Anyway, Trump mentioned that he had spoken with Lindsey Graham right before his, just hours before his death, to discuss advancing the Save America Act, which is probably, whatever you call it, where that's conspiracy theorist came from. But anyway, Trump said that he heard and felt that the South Carolina Republicans sounded tired after returning from Ukraine, but otherwise appeared to be in good spirits. Trump said, "What makes it even stranger is I got a call last night sometime in the early evening, maybe in the 7s. And he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act." He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. So he was speaking via phone, meaning Trump was speaking via phone to NBC's Meet the Press. Trump said that Graham's final call underscored the late senator's relentless work ethic and devotion to public service. So, yeah. Trump said that Graham said, "I just landed from Ukraine. That's a long trip to make." He sounded a little tired, but perfect. He actually said he was tired, but he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, "Well, we'll get it done, Lindsey. I'll get it done. I'll see you soon. We might even meet today." And Trump said that he received word of Graham's death several hours later. Trump said, "Well, it couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly, but I got the message around 1 this morning from one of the people in his office that he had passed away. I said, I can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually." Trump said that he was such an advocate. If he wanted to get something, he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually. Trump said that Graham loved serving in the Senate and had been poised to win another term. Trump said there was nobody like him. He loved being a politician, and he was going to win his election. He was going to win it big. I'm surprised Trump didn't say bigly there, but anyway. He did acknowledge that Graham could be combative when pursuing issues he believed in, but Trump said that the senator had earned widespread respect. Trump said he was a tough cookie. Don't misunderstand. If he wanted to get something, if he thought he was right and had people against him, he could be very tough, actually. But he was a good person. So, there you go. Anyway. Well, unfortunately, he's passed. That's the unfortunate part. But Trump also said, hey, you know what? You know who should take Senator Graham's place? Is his sister, Darlene. So he called the governor. Now, for those of you that don't know, some states require special elections to replace senators that can't finish serving their office. Other places, the governor gets to appoint whoever is going to be the interim time frame. South Carolina happens to be one of those. And so Trump reached out to the governor and said, hey, we should probably get his sister, his only surviving family member. Now, I didn't know this, but Senator Graham had no children. He wasn't married. And, so his only surviving family member left is his sister. Trump recommended her and says, Darlene Graham Nordone said in a brief phone call that she goes, actually, I'm just kind of devastated right now, when she was asked about Trump's endorsement. So, yeah, here's a picture. For those that may not know what she looks like, there's a picture of Senator Graham and his sister. Apparently, they were very close. Trump posted on True Social that, this would be a fabulous tribute to Lindsay, who loved her dearly. So, he wanted her to get in there. Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina also agreed and told the New York Post that he has known the late South Carolina senator's sister for years. She's a constituent of mine in Lexington County. He says, I have faith in Governor McMaster will make the right decision, but I would support the president's recommendation. Well, the president's recommendation apparently holds weight, because the South Carolina governor has appointed Graham's sister to fill his Senate seat in the interim until the election can occur. So Nordone will serve through January 3rd of 2027. And when Graham's term is over. Now, she did not say whether or not she would run for a full term. In other words, another full term after this. She said Governor McMaster said, today, under the law, it is my duty and honor to name someone to serve in the place of this irresistible man, this irreplaceable man, this extraordinary man for the remainder of his term. Lindsay took care of his little sister in years long departed. I don't know what he meant by that, but all right. Anyway, he says, it is my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now. In her remarks, Nordone expressed thanks to McMaster and, of course, paid tribute to her brother by saying, my brother was the most amazing person, outstanding leader, and just a genuinely good man. He was kind and considerate and loved by his family dearly, as I think everyone would agree. Lindsay worked harder than anyone. He worked nonstop to make our state, country, and world better. Now, Graham, of course, was known to have a close relationship with his sister, for whom he served as a guardian after their parents died. Nordone told public radio, National Public Radio, NPR, in 2015, I can remember the day my father passed away, standing in the living room of that house, absolutely scared to death. Lindsay wrapped his arms around me and promised me he would always be there for me and always take care of me. Also, in a 2015 interview with the New York Times, Nordone said of her brother, he's kind of like a brother, a father, and a mother, rolled all into one. So, and by the way, Graham's office said in a statement that the longtime senator's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. So, there you go. Now, one thing that makes Lindsey Graham stand out from the rest of the idiots in Congress, and I'll be honest with you, this little factoid that came up, I was actually kind of surprised. Because, see, most of the time you hear about Congress, you hear about these Congress people going into Congress as somebody like AOC. Now, granted, she wasn't a senator. She's just a representative, but she walks in almost penniless in terms of wealth. And within a year or two, she all of a sudden is worth, $10 million or whatever. And then you have people like, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi, I think last count was at $260 million. Well, this little factoid about Lindsey Graham kind of shocked me. New York Post. Lindsey Graham had among the lowest wealth in Congress, despite a lifetime at the center of power. He is apparently only worth $1.5 million. That was his net worth, $1.5 million. Now, you compare that to somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who's worth $260 million, Chuck Schumer, even Bernie Sanders, who complains about the elitist, ultra-class millionaires and billionaires. Well, he started off with millionaires, then he became a millionaire, and now he only rallies against the billionaires. Folks, he was ranked at 294th in wealth among the 535 voting members of Congress, according to data from the Quiver Quantitative Tracker. How could this man be in public service since the 90s, the 1990s, and be only worth $1.5 million? Essentially a lifetime, or pretty damn close to a lifetime of public service, and he's only worth 1.5? When people like AOC and all of the rest, they are worth millions? I got to tell you, that, to me, is a huge indication that a lot of our quote-unquote public servants are on the dole. They're on the take. Now, whether or not they're on the take in terms of it's illegal for what they're doing, or that they are breaking any laws, that I don't know. There should be a complete and full investigation in my mind. But this just demonstrates that there actually are some people out there with some integrity, with some ethics. Okay, and that he was not taking a whole bunch of money in kickbacks and so on and so forth. By the way, the wealthiest member of Congress, according to Quiver's quantitative tracker, is fellow Senator James Justice from West Virginia, whose net worth is estimated at $664 million. And both men earned a Senate salary of $174,000 per year. Graham had a 31-year career in Congress. 31 years, and he's only worth $1.5 million when all the rest of these nimrods and lunatics and idiots and everything else that have gotten themselves elected, or all of us are worth, at a minimum, 10 times more than him or more? That tells you something. Tells you a lot of something. And it makes me wonder, when are the investigations going to start? When will the people start to look into how these individuals who are only making $174,000 a year, now keep in mind that was after a 31-year run in Congress. By the way, I believe that's like a starting salary, because if I recall correctly, that's what AOC is making, is $174,000 a year. This is just an example. This is just one simple example as to how potentially corrupt the people in Congress, our representatives, are today. Yeah. Anyway, I can't even imagine I can't even imagine how somebody who has 31 years in Congress can walk away with only a net worth of $1.5 million. Where'd all his money go? All the money that he was supposedly taking off the grift. Oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe he didn't actually grift. Maybe he didn't do inside trader stuff. And by the way, his net wealth has remained relatively consistent over the last 10 years. Just so you know. Yep. Now, he had 2 homes. He owned a townhouse near the Capitol that was estimated to be about $890,000 in value, as well as a home in Seneca, South Carolina. So there you go. Oh, and by the way, during the lead up to Graham's failed 2016 presidential bid, the Center for Responsive Politics group ranked Graham among the least wealthy members of the Senate for 10 straight years. So this isn't like something that all of a sudden he just gave all his money away and it was done. No, he's been relatively in this space consistently, which tells you something about the rest of the people in Congress. I seriously doubt anybody's going to look into him, but damn. All I got to say is, damn. All right. Let's slide on over to good old Mitch the Turtle McConnell. Well, he's apparently alive and well. Yes, there are a lot of people who are saying there was conspiracy theories. They were like the Senate was covering up for him, so on and so forth. Well, he has released a photo, or his office has finally released a photo of himself. Here he is. Let's see if I can get both of them. There he is, a stock photo on the left with him in the hospital on the right. Now, supposedly, he was recovering from a mild case of pneumonia. He said, "My doctors have confirmed that I didn't break any bones or suffer a concussion," talking about his fall. And he goes, "I didn't have a heart attack or stroke. I don't have any tumors or hemorrhages or any of that." That was talking about his fall not too long ago that sparked controversy or sparked conspiracy questions as to whether or not he was okay. Well, it seems like he's fine. His attending physician noted that McConnell has experienced several falls throughout the year that have attributed to his post-polio condition. So he was admitted to the hospital 4 weeks ago, and that was after falling at home and sustaining minor injuries, according to his doctor. A comprehensive evaluation by a multidisciplinary team determined that he had no fractures, cardiac abnormalities, stroke, tumor, or hemorrhage. His doctor continued by saying early in his hospitalization, he developed pneumonia, which responded rapidly to antibiotic treatment. So, yeah. So with McConnell being out, and Graham's unexpected passing, it leaves the Senate down to just 2 crucial Republican votes amid a dead sprint to wrap up key parts of Donald Trump's agenda through July and into early August. Because you know what would happen is he he would, if he doesn't get this agenda, then it goes into the midterms. They go for their midterm break. So, anyway. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Now, that being said, some people are questioning, well, okay, so the photo proves that McConnell is still alive, but it raises a much bigger question. Why in the hell did it take so long for his office to actually respond with this information? If he's alive, then why did it take so long for it to show up? So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. That's a good question. Why did it take so long for that? Doesn't answer the question as to why it, again, couldn't take so long, but whatever. No reason. His office couldn't have said, hey, he's just in the hospital for just a little bit of time, back in June when the guessing game actually started. But, yeah, his aides apparently just let the Senate, vague Senate Republican leadership do the talking, which only fed the speculation. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe Mitch could have come to the window like Reagan did after he got shot and waved to the crowd to prove that he was alive. So, anyway. Oh, that would have been fun. All right, well, let's talk really quickly about since we're on the subject of the Senate, and Lindsey Graham mentioned that the SAVE Act was ready to go. I don't know if it was. But that's what Trump said, Lindsey Graham said to him. Anyway, sorry, I had to pause, take a drink. Anyway, there is another possible birthright citizenship change that could be coming down the pike. And by that, I mean Senator Jim Banks, and maybe this is what Lindsey Graham was talking about. Senator Jim Banks was scheduled to introduce legislation today aimed at ending birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants and birth tourists by defining them as children of invaders under federal law. Well, this is a different angle to come at this potential problem, which isn't a problem, but the SCOTUS made it a problem because Chief Justice Roberts wants to keep his hands clean from doing the right thing and, protect the SCOTUS from being the body of justices that it's supposed to be. Anyway, sorry, can you hear the sarcastic tone in my voice here with this? I mean, honestly. I'm telling you, Chief Justice should not be a seat. It should be a person. But anyway, and that should have gone to the oldest serving member ever on the court, Justice Clarence Thomas. But moving on from that, Trump recently urged Senate Republicans to move faster on his legislative agenda, which of course is the SAVE Act. Ending birthright citizenship was high up on his list. And according to Banks from Indiana, he's a Republican. But according to Banks, he was saying that Trump said that the Senate Republicans were not fighting hard enough. This was in a June 30th interview with Human Events. Banks told Fox News Digital he plans to introduce the Citizenship Act as soon as the Senate opens for business this afternoon, crafting it with a nod to Trump-supported Justice Brett Kavanaugh's concurrence on the Trump v. Barbara case. Kavanaugh concurred in the judgment and dissented in part. He said that Trump's order conflicted with federal birthright citizenship law, but suggested that Congress could amend that statute to create new exceptions. Now, I'm going to tell you, no, Trump's EO did not conflict. All Trump's EO did, and by EO I mean executive order, all that did was further clarify the historical and proper interpretation of the 14th Amendment, as proposed by Senator Howard back on May 30th, 1866, which you can read the Congressional Globe, which is not a paper. It is the official congressional record of the debates that occurred with regards to the wording of and subject to the jurisdiction thereof of the 14th Amendment. It was more than that, but that's the main piece of it. Anyway, the Citizenship Act as proposed would declare that children of statutory invaders are not entitled to birthright citizenship under law, and would codify the 2025 executive order that cites the term. In its summary, Banks's bill declares any person who enters the United States without authorization or for the purpose of engaging in birth tourism is considered an invader, and amends the Immigration and Nationality Act to exclude children of such invaders. Now, Banks's key use of the term invaders cites Trump's executive order declaring illegal immigration across the southern border an invasion. And the bill notes that the Barbara decision leaves that avenue open for Congress to crack down on. All of this, of course, is without touching the amendment process or attempting to overturn any court ruling. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is Trump was reportedly, and I don't know if he's done this yet, but was reportedly going to appeal the decision back to the court and say, hey, you guys need to re-examine this. Here's some further information that you need in order to re-examine it. Now, while that is possible to be done, it has not been very successful throughout history. In fact, it's kind of rare for the Supreme Court to actually take a case back up with any new information that is being presented. So chances are that's not going to go anywhere. But all of that, the Citizenship Act, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, the Citizenship Act also amends the federal law to revoke the citizenship of children of illegal immigrants under exceptions listed in the same case the Barbara's ruling majorities used as its precedent. So he is using, this Banks fella is using the majority opinion written by Roberts to basically turn it back around and stick it into Roberts's butt, to say the least. Anyway. And he's kind of using Kavanaugh's like split decision, although I think Kavanaugh was wrong anyway, even though he agreed at one point but disagreed on the other one. Kavanaugh wrote that Trump's order didn't violate the 14th Amendment. He's correct, but that it did conflict with the federal statute on birthright citizenship. And I say no, it didn't, because the proper interpretation, the correct interpretation of Wong Kim Ark, the 14th Amendment, all of these other things is clearly stated throughout history, has shown that it's more than just being born in the border of the United States more than that to be a citizen. I mean, if all you have to do is look at and right or wrong, look at the treatment of the Native Americans who were here before we were even a country. And every single senator agreed that the Native Americans that were born here, and I'm saying that term trying to be politically correct, it's called the Indians, okay? The Indians that were born here did not actually receive citizenship at all until 1924, when Congress said, you guys have citizenship now. So how is an illegal alien coming into this country any different than an Indian that was born and had allegiances to his tribe? And that was clearly explained in the Congressional Globe, May 30th, 1866, during the debates about what the subject of the jurisdiction thereof meant. Subject to the jurisdiction had nothing to do with whether or not they had to follow laws. It actually was beyond that. It was above that. It was bigger than that. It was that you had to have a whole and complete allegiance to the United States of America only, and no other ties in any other foreign power. Nothing. Whether it was a tribe, whether it was being born here from, you came here from France or Spain or Asia or whatever. China. Because the Chinese were all coming over into California at the time. And by the way, the Chinese weren't even considered, when you go to the Wong Kim Ark decision, the Chinese weren't even allowed to renounce their citizenship. So the reason why Wong Kim Ark was ruled the way that it was is because of the fact that his parents had permanent residency, which was as far as the Congress and the United States government was willing to go for the Chinese. They could not become naturalized citizens, even though Wong Kim Ark's parents had been here for like 10, 15 years doing business, saying that they were not going to go back to China, that they were going to live here, they were going to work here, they were going to create business here. That's what they were doing. They wanted to be, they basically did everything they legally could, all the way up to, but not including, becoming naturalized, because the laws did not allow that. And that's exactly why Wong Kim Ark was said to have citizenship after being born here, because his parents already had the highest legal classification they could possibly get to becoming citizens. And this is the part that Chief Justice Roberts totally misconstrued, and what everybody else who's been saying, talking about birthright citizenship, has misconstrued. Anyway, sorry. I'll get off my soapbox now. This is really a hot button for me. This birthright citizenship stuff is a hot button for me. Anyway, to follow along with the exceptions, here's the exceptions. Justice Horace Gray wrote and ruled in Wong Kim Ark. The exceptions include diplomat kids, enemies within, this is the one that's the key, and those engaged in hostile occupation of U.S. territories who are not bound to render obedience to the sovereign, which is the U.S. government, and whose domains are being invaded. So enemies within is the key. Enemies within is the key. So there you go. And that's what this gentleman, what's his name? Banks is banking on. Sorry for the pun. But anyway. So that's why Banks is essentially using this against Roberts himself, because that way, if it ends up being challenged and going back up to the Supreme Court, Roberts can't get out of it. He'll be trapped in a corner So anyway, Banks told Fox News Digital the Supreme Court's birthright citizenship decision was an unprecedented assault on American sovereignty, and we must do whatever it takes to save our country. I'm leading the Citizenship Act to reverse the effects of this consequential ruling and ensure that millions of illegal aliens that invaded our country can't continue to exploit our immigration system. This to me is very like the Dred Scott decision by SCOTUS and the resulting Civil Rights Act of 1866 and ultimately the 14th Amendment to the United States. Well, speaking of SCOTUS, and as you all know, I have publicly stated I will throw my hat in the ring if asked by Trump to sit on SCOTUS. And I've been telling people, some have disagreed with me, but I've been telling people that constitutionally speaking, you do not need to be a judge. You do not need to be a lawyer. In fact, you don't even need to be part of the justice system at all. At all, to become a Supreme Court Justice of the United States. A lot of people said, "Hey, you're one brick shy of a load by saying that." Well, guess what? Here in Just the News. List of possible Trump SCOTUS nominees has some with no bench experience. By the way, this is not unusual for the High Court. So Just the News, reading my mind, went ahead and this person, this is a news contributor. Not me. It's not me, okay? But historically speaking, more than 1/3 of the Supreme Court justices who have served had no prior judicial experience before even joining the court. So, what happened here, obviously, was the Alito being falsely reported as being considering retirement. And by the way, NPR briefly published it and then retracted that within minutes. So now all of this, of course, shifted attention and been like, hey, well, wait a minute. If Thomas leaves and Alito leaves, then within Trump's term, Trump can nominate people. Now, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say Trump's last nominations, whether it was Kavanaugh or Amy Coney Barrett, those I'm not thrilled with their nominations, to be honest. But this is something that apparently Trump is considering. Reportedly, his list actually has a series of people that are being discussed as being elected officials, executive branch lawyers, so he's still kind of sticking with the lawyer thing, and other prominent conservatives with little or no judicial experience. And so this speculation has raised the possibility that Donald Trump's next Supreme Court nominee could depart from the modern practice of choosing sitting justices or sitting judges, because most recent presidents have largely selected sitting federal appellate judges. Now, the modern Supreme Court is dominated by these folks, but that's not always been the case, according to the piece here. Chief Justice John Marshall was a congressman and a diplomat. He wasn't even a judge. California Governor Earl Warren, Lou Brandeis, who was a renowned attorney and reformer, Robert Jackson, who served as U.S. Attorney General, and William Rehnquist, who came from the Justice Department before later becoming Chief Justice. And Elena Kagan had not been a part of a judgeship. She came from the U.S. Solicitor General. Harriet Miers was nominated. She was White House counsel under George W. Bush. She was nominated in 2005 without any judicial experience, although she later withdrew amid bipartisan questions of her qualifications. So, yeah. Now, obviously, Ted Cruz is reportedly on that list. He's a Harvard Law graduate who clerked for Chief Justice William Rehnquist, served as a state solicitor general, argued 9 cases before the Supreme Court, more than any Texas lawyer had at the time, including wins in Second Amendment and religious liberty cases. Now, Cruz was added to a public list of potential nominees in 2020, and as recently this week had mentioned, he was floated as a possibility, telling the Oval Office reporters that Cruz would be confirmed 100 to 0 because Democrats wanted to get him out of the Senate. So, yeah. Mike Lee might possibly also be on the list. Mike Lee is a former law clerk with deep ties to the conservative legal movement. It's been publicly endorsed by Chuck Grassley. Before joining the Senate, Lee served as an assistant U.S. attorney and practiced constitutional law. We also have Ron DeSantis, has been mentioned by some. He's a graduate of both Yale and Harvard, as well as a Navy JAG officer. For those that don't know, that's Judge Advocate General. Well, he has no judicial experience. He has appointed dozens of judges in Florida's state courts and has made legal and constitutional issues a central feature of his administration. You also have Solicitor General John Sauer, who I think would be probably the worst choice out of everybody on this list, because Sauer did not do what he should have done under birthright citizenship at all. But he is apparently emerged as a frequently discussed possibility. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, all of this is just speculation. None of this is anything official or anything else. Okay. But that's it. Anyway, there's no vacancy. Neither Thomas or Alito have indicated any plan to step down, nor has Sotomayor, who is right behind those two in terms of age. So, anyway. Yeah, a single seat can reshape the court for a generation. Although, if the Dems get into power again, guaranteed they're going to expand the court from 9 to 13. Guaranteed, if not more. So, yeah. But again, as I pointed out, you do not need to be a judge. You don't even really need to be a lawyer, to be honest with you, even though I'm sure that a lot of the senators would be, a little miffed if a non-lawyer got nominated. I personally think that, I would certainly relish the challenge to try and get through the nomination process. In my personal opinion, the person who needs to go up there needs to be well-versed on the Constitution, well-versed on the history of America, not so much necessarily well-versed in terms of legal case law, even though that would be a benefit if you could to be able to discuss that. But yeah, there you go. All right. Well, in our final moments, I have two other articles to discuss. One is obviously One is the evidence keeps mounting for the argument that the left keeps saying, oh, no, nobody would vote in our elections because they could get caught and, be serving 5 years. Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. There's a small, here's just a history of the most recent ones that have been caught. Okay. 24 non-citizens voting arrests, prosecutions, or convictions just within the last few months. There's about 90 more cases that are under investigation right now. So here's the thing. You have a small town Kansas mayor who was born in Mexico that was caught. Filipino senior citizen living in Hawaii was caught. 2 Pakistani men residing in New Jersey, they were caught. The Aussie in Louisiana that we just talked about not too long ago. Well, caught there. Chinese student studying at the University of Michigan. They have been charged, those are just within the last year that have been charged with illegally voting in U.S. federal elections as foreigners. Yeah. It's not happening, but it's good that it is, according to the Democrats. The Justice Department has secured about 24 non-citizens voting arrests, prosecutions, or convictions just in the last few months. There's about another 90 more cases that are under investigation at this point, officials told Just the News. And all 50 states obviously got that memo that said, hey, you guys, if you aid and abet these people in voting in our elections, yeah, you guys could get in trouble as well. So, yeah. Anyway, the problem, of course, is that you have hundreds of thousands of dead people that are still eligible to vote on voter rolls. Tens of thousands of illegal aliens on the voter rolls. And, somebody once asked me, they said, well, how in the hell does that happen? It's pretty simple. The National Voter Registration Act, known as the Motor Voter Law, that went into effect in 1993. Every single DMV in the country, when you go in to get a driver's license, they have on the form a simple checkbox. That checkbox states, I certify under penalty of perjury that I am a U.S. citizen, that I do want to vote, and I want to be registered to vote. And that's all it takes is a checkbox. That's it. And then the person's name and address and everything are sent over to the voter registration, and boom, they're registered to vote. And then all of a sudden, especially in those mail-in voting states like Washington, California, Oregon, etc., all of a sudden, they're getting ballots being sent to them because they're registered voters. But see, it's just that little checkbox. There's no follow-up. There's no question by the DMV person, hey, I noticed that you checked this box. Can you prove that you're a U.S. citizen? There's none of that. In fact, half the time, they don't even question it. They just, it doesn't even present itself to them. And they just go. So, yeah. There's many of these scores that have been found. There's percentages all over the place. Okay? All over the place. They've registered. Some have even gone beyond that and voted. Some have even voted multiple times and have never been caught. And this is all part of the reason why the SAVE Act is so important. And by the way, there's a lie that's running around about the SAVE Act. The left keeps saying that married women won't be able to vote. That's actually bullcrap. They can vote. All that is asked is that you prove that you're a U.S. citizen when you register. You don't have to take your birth certificate to the polling place. That isn't it. It's when you register to vote is when you prove that you're a U.S. citizen and can vote. Anyway. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, search up the American Perspective channel, hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget I have a new streaming platform, pilled.net, Pilled.net. Go and check that one out as well. You may like it better than some of the others. On your way out, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways or maybe one in an angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble and Pilled.net, Pilled.net. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.